And how is everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a fabulous Friday. I know I am. Woke up early, did some reading. I'm going to catch a nice workout, get some client work done, maybe do a little writing, a little bit more research. It's a good day. Absolutely good day. So I hope everybody is ready. We're going to say hi to a few people as people come in, and then we are going to discuss just a few things that I think that possibly could have been done different in the last couple of years. We're not going to get into the politics of it. I don't care. I gotta be. I don't care. Like Janet, how are you? 123-88753. How are you? Um, uh, Shield Maiden Fitness. How are you? But again, I'm not going to get into the politics of anything because there really shouldn't be politics involved with this. Like, the title of the video uh, is what I would have done different, or what I would do if I was the Secretary of Health in 2020. And there's a couple very serious things that I think have been lost, not just from 2020, but from just in general. So, I mean, we're going to go over. I want to say hi to Numero Uno, got your no morbidity and outright bars candidate. That's outstanding. I would start a program of mixed housing, commercials, districts, and mass transit pedestrian walking should not be illegal. I agree with that. So that's good. I was trying to check my emails every day uh, since the 18th of August. Well, I'm happy you got it. I don't. It seems like it took a while. I don't know where you're at in the world. So, Sean, hey guys, back at work with Fridays off. Got to get you live. That's outstanding, Sean. Outstanding. Glad to hear you're doing better. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, you had a skull fracture or something like that. So I'm happy you're doing better because that's not something to fuck around with. But we're going to look over some of the literature and things like that. But I can tell you this. I very much believe in preventative medicine. I don't believe our healthcare system currently does that. I was a healthcare executive for a long time, and I'm not a doctor or like that. I was in administration with a heavy focus on nutrition for hospitals, senior care centers, long term cares, skilled nursings, all sorts of stuff. And I did help write disaster plans, including outbreak plans for multiple counties in the United States. So it's not like I'm not versed on like viral outbreak or anything like that. I help write policy for local governments for it, So, and that's a reality. And I just can tell you that one of the reasons why I left the healthcare industry is that it was no longer about health. It's about maintenance and money. Like they want to maintain your health at the current state of shittiness it is, and milk money. Hang on a second. I totally I hear you, and thank you for the tip. I appreciate it. Took 3 weeks for you. Literally woke up to your live 6 a.m. alarm. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. Health has to start with young children before the bad habits set in. Yes and no. I mean, uh, once even it's not like adults are lost. But this is about what I would have done in 2020. Now, I can already say that if I was the Secretary of Health, there would have been a few things already in place. One would be a weekly live kind of state of the health of the country address, where the Secretary of Health should be doing their very best to make sure that the people of the United States have all the information possible, all the education possible to make good health decisions, and exercise their freedom. At no point in time should the federal government ever. I mean, your health decision should be made by you, based on your privacy and um, your personal level of what you would want to risk. Like as long you should be able to be told the risks, know what they are, and then move on from there. And your risk does not determine other people's risk. If it's just not, it's a constitutional thing, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. you're free. You're a free human being, and you at no point in time should you base it on like our freedoms be based on a populist thing. That's not how that works, you know. Um, but I would have weekly calls, and I would try to make sure we presented uh, all sides. So science would not have been turned off. There would be the open avenue for dissenting opinions based upon the data. So we would present the data to the American people, and then people, experts, whatever, can ask questions to each other, openly debate, and have dissenting opinion based on the data. And then the American people can watch. And if the idea would be to be presented in language and fashion that would be able to be understood by the populace of the American people, because it's the same thing with your doctor. Like if you go to the doctor and the doctor starts talking to you in terminology you don't understand, and then suggests you do something and you don't understand why or the reasons of what you would be doing, it's not an informed consent. Because if you don't understand what they're talking about, you aren't informed. So you need informed consent in order to make decisions. Now, I'm going to argue that informed consent was robbed of the people in early 2020 for lots of reasons. And the biggest is we just didn't talk about who really was at risk and who really wasn't. I'm going to go over some studies and some publications and those sorts of things. Alan, did you hear that a province over here has put a sugar tax on soda sold and is looking to extend it to other items? That's a step in the right direction. It really is. Educating the masses has been put on the back burner for political agenda. That's what I'm saying. Like we the people should have, been educated about this. That is not the right way to handle it. People still drink and buy drugs. It will not help it. It will not help at all. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know who you're talking to. If you're talking to me, what won't help at all? I mean, informed consent. I don't give here's my thing. I don't care if people drink or buy drugs. I don't. I absolutely, it will help. Like if people realized how bad some of this stuff was for them, then they would be able to make an informed decision about it. The thing is, they're to make the decision about it, not other people. Well, sugar tax will most definitely help. A sugar tax will most definitely help, especially if the money is used correctly. It'll most definitely help. Right now, it's less expensive to buy soda than water in America, in a lot of places. That's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. So it would definitely help. Thanks for the Twitter follow. Thank you. Hello from Camp Lumiere. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, motherfuckers. I appreciate you. A big problem with that, though, would be the potential extension to meat. That's where education comes in, because one is an actual food and one is a food product. Processed sugar is a food product. I mean, I would try for there to be a definite classification, of it. And you work with agriculture too. I don't see any reason why we subsidize the sugar industry $4 billion of taxpayer money a year. It's fucking insanity. Insanity. Subsidies, I think that would help too. I really do. Raising the price on cigarettes caused a drastic drop in smoking. Sugar tax will work if it's significant. Exactly. There's only so much people are going to put up with that way. But anyway, here's one of the things I wanted to start looking at. And this was, let's see. This is from May 11th of 2020. All right. Now, right when all this came out, you could easily find a lot of articles that have been scrubbed from the internet. Just fucking reality. Like a lot of things have been taken off the internet, which is just ridiculous. Like it used to be like the internet's forever. Apparently not. But you could find very early that the high risk were elderly people and fat people. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like without even questioning. And the fucking thing is, it's literally because like being fat's not good for you, and we've known this forever. So I don't understand why there's this huge ass debate. I don't get it. I don't understand why there's some sort of crazy huge debate on why a sugar tax will be more effective to force the industry to stop adding too much sugar and stop subsidizing sugar. Well, stopping of using taxpayer dollars to subsidize sugar is one thing. Forcing industries to do whatever, I don't believe in. I believe in a free market economy, as long as there's education involved in it. But a sugar tax, here's the thing. If you tax something like that, why, it's the same thing as there's an alcohol tax, you know? No need. Yes, there still is. Sugar is more dangerous than cigarettes, statistically. It just is. I mean, statistically, it absolutely is. But anyway, they can try and scrub it, but people say. But anyway, here we go. This is from May 11th of 2020. Now, there was already plenty of information out there about how. Let me see if I can change this up a little bit. There we go. I can change the window. That's good. There was already plenty of information saying that fat people and elderly people were at high risk, but I found it amazing. I mean, truly amazing that we did not actually warn fat people. Like, we did not. We just watched them die. And I've said this from the beginning. You guys can, and anybody that comes in here and wants to pretend like I have not call this from the fucking beginning. I mean, that's fine. Check my history. Check Twitter. You check the social media that they've allowed me to keep up. But I started asking questions immediately because I got to be real. Nothing made sense, and I didn't buy any of the bullshit because in healthcare, the people that do the dying are the sick are the elderly and the fat. The elderly, the sick, and the fat. They're the people that do the dying. I mean, especially of communicable diseases, of the flu and all like that. Of course, there's anomalous people and anomalous cases of this young, healthy person died. And then they use that, of course, to say anybody can die of it. Anybody can get struck by lightning, too. Anybody can get heat stroke, which I was more at risk of heat stroke than I was of this virus, statistically. Okay? I mean, because I'm going to be real, this is who has passed away in August of 2022, as of August 28th, from the most deadly pandemic ever. I mean, if you want to take a look at the entirety of it, it is, whoops. I mean, what? So this is the year totals, right? More people died from obesity. Most of these people were obese and died from obesity, and there's also the jibby jab thing going on. And here we are, a little bit more than 3/4 of the way. More people have died from obesity each year. So we're going to keep it in reference, But here we go. This is from May 11th of 2020. The younger an ICU patient with severe, and we're going to go this, the younger the ICU patient with severe COVID-19, the more obese the patient tends to be, according to a new analysis published in The Lancet. Now, this was published, this was data from April that was published in May. So March and April, we knew. Like they knew fat people were at risk. No, find me anywhere where the powers that be tried to protect fat people. Instead, we made more fat people, and in the last 2 years, somehow made fat people such a protected class that you can't call them fat or you're seen as somehow mean. Like we did, the mean thing is not warning them. I will obviously, it's what I do for a living. Oh, by the way, I just want to tell everybody, great sale, by the way. If we are out of no morbidity right now, but another awesome thing to do, you should go with you can do Nutrient Driver, Immortal, but they're having a fabulous sale over Tiger Fitness right now for Labor Day. Huge, huge, huge. Anyway, but I'm going to read this one more time. Obesity can. This is from May 11th of 2020. Obesity can shift severe COVID-19 to younger age groups. What your doctor is reading on Medscape. The younger an ICU patient with severe COVID-19, the more obese the patient tends to be, according to a new analysis published in Lancet. Again, this is from data from February, March, and April of 2020. By itself, obesity seems to be a sufficient risk factor to start seeing younger people landing in the ICU, said the study's lead author, David Cass, MD, a professor of cardiology and medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland. In that sense, there's a simple message. It's if you're very, very overweight, don't think that if you're 35, you're that much safer from severe COVID than your mother or grandparents or others in their 60s or 70s. And again, this is where I came up with if you have eaten yourself, gluttoned yourself to the frailty of an elderly person, why should society protect you? These are your actions. You are doing them. You should be warned. We should be informing you. And as Secretary of Health of the United States, I would have informed people, if you are very fat, you should very much so try to reduce your body weight, because now not only are you at risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, hypertension, high blood, just a multitude of things, osteoarthritis, stroke. I mean, so many things, all the things that end up burdening our entire society. And the fact that a huge portion of our already healthcare burden is from lifestyle-driven chronic illnesses, from people gluttoning themselves, drinking too much, smoking too much. You are now at high risk, that of an elderly person, for COVID-19. I will also point out that this is just an admission that not everybody is at the same risk. Yet we treated everybody as if they were at the same risk. Now, I know people were like, well, we can't overload the hospital system, but why would we not try to alleviate some of that off the hospital system? I personally would be trying to make the healthcare expenditure of the United States as little as humanly possible. If I was the Secretary of Health of the United States, I would try to make it with as little as humanly possible. Just minuscule, tiny. I would try to get it to the point where it was barely a thing, because the more you have to use it, the more that people die in hospitals. It is a known factor that medical error is the third leading cause of death in the United States. The more we interact with that, it always lowers that. By watching out for the public health of people, by watching out for the weight of people and what they're ingesting and how much activity they get, how much sunlight they get, we would be, in fact, reducing down multiple layers of possible death and illness and disease in the United States. But by accessing the healthcare system less often, it reduces down a huge cause of death in the United States. Something like 450,000 people a year die from medical error in the United States. But yet alone the fact that now we have an admission that fat people in early 2020, in May of 11th of 2020, this is before the masks and everything. These were the people that are at risk: elderly people and fat people. We know this. Like it is factual. The findings, which Cass described as a 2-week snapshot of 265 patients, 58% male, in late March and early April at a handful of university hospitals in the United States, reinforced other recent research. So there's much other research going on at this time, by the way, indicating that obesity is one of the biggest risk factors for severe COVID-19 disease, particularly among younger patients. In addition, a large British study shows that after adjusting for comorbidities, obesity was a significant factor associated with in-hospital death of COVID-19. But the new analysis stands out as the only data set to date to specifically ask the question relative to age of whether severe COVID-19 disease correlates to ICU treatment, he said. The mean age of his study population in the ICU was 55, Cass said, and that was young, not what we were expecting. Even though the first 20 patients were already seeing younger patients, they definitely were heavier, with plenty of patients with BMIs over 35. He added that relationship was pretty tight, pretty quick. So, being morbidly obese is a massive risk factor. It's fucking, I mean, this is not even a question. Cass and co-authors write that the analysis of the data, they anticipated similar results to the largest study of 1,591 ICU patients from Italy, in which only 203 were younger and 51 younger than 51 years. Common comorbidities amongst these patients include hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes, all fatness diseases, all lifestyle-driven chronic illnesses for the most part. A similar data reported from China. When the COVID-19 epidemic accelerated in the United States, older age was also identified as a risk factor. Obesity had not been added to the list, and it never fucking was, really. We never said, hey, you're fat, you should lose weight, you're at high risk. We never actually did that because we can't hurt people's feelings, apparently. We'd rather watch them die. Cass noted, but following informal discussions with colleagues and other ICUs around the country, he decided to investigate further as to whether it was an underappreciated risk factor. Cass and colleagues did a quick evaluation to the link of BMI and age of patients with COVID-19 admitted to ICUs at Johns Hopkins University of Cincinnati, New York University, University of Washington, Florida Health, and University of Pennsylvania. The significant inverse correlation between age and BMI showed younger ICU patients were more likely to be obese with no difference in gender. Median BMI among study participants was 29.3 kilograms per meter squared, with only a quarter having a BMI lower than 26, and another 25% having a BMI higher than 34.7. Cass acknowledged that it wasn't possible with this simple data set to account for any other potential co-founders, but he told Medscape Medical News that while diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and hypertension, for example, can occur with obesity, that is generally less so in younger populations as it takes time for the comorbidities to develop. So basically what they're saying is, even though we're talking about the metabolically health obese stupidity, like you're metabolically healthy, meaning you don't have you have the absence of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or hypertension, but you're fat as fuck, and you still are at high risk because even though you don't have any of those things, you are still at risk from just being obese. Normally, because I believe it's because it's a chronic inflammatory state. For one, obesity places extra pressure on the diaphragm while you're lying on your back, restricting breathing. Morbid obesity itself is pro-inflammatory. Here we've got a viral infection with early reports suggesting that cytokine storms and immune mishandling of the virus and why it's so much more severe than other forms of coronavirus we've seen before. So if you have someone who has already underlying pro-inflammatory state, this could be the reason for higher risk, as we've discussed with other things too. Additionally, the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, ACE2 receptor, to which the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 attaches, is expressed in higher amounts in adipose tissue than the lungs. This could turn into a kind of viral replication depot, meaning that they replicate the virus more, which they do, you know. Sensitivity needed for public messaging about risks, but test sooner. Stupid shit. With an obesity rate of about 40% in the United States, the results are particularly relevant for Americans. So this is where you get people like Fauci literally stating that it's because of the obesity epidemic that we lock the people down, and it's a statement. This is from July of 2020. It is body mass index and outcomes in patients with COVID-19 dose response meta-analysis. The result, a total of 34,390 patients from 12 studies were included in this meta-analysis. The meta-analysis demonstrated that obesity was associated with a composite poor outcome, mortality, and severity in patients with COVID-19. A pooled analysis of highest BMI versus reference BMI indicated that a higher BMI in the patients was associated with composite poor outcome, mortality, and severity. The dose response meta-analysis showed an increased risk of composite poor outcome of 1.052 for every 5 points on the BMI scale, basically. The curve steepens with increasing BMI. So the fatter you are, the more risk you're at. Let's see. So this was July of 2020. Here's another one, September of 2020, Association of Body Mass Index with Critical COVID and In-Hospital Mortality, a dose response meta-analysis. And this is pretty much the same study, I believe it was. Nope. A total of 16 observational studies involving 109,881 patients with COVID-19 were included in a meta-analysis. The pooled results showed the patients with a BMI over 30 had a 2.35-fold BMI over 30 had a 2.35-fold risk for critical COVID and 2.68-fold risk of mortality, death, compared to patients with BMI under 30. Why did we not warn these people? Like, why did we treat every human being as if they were at the same risk? And why did we not warn these people? I mean, that's what this is where I'm at. Okay, like, fuck your politics. I don't want to see people. I want to see people live and be free. Fuck your politics. If I was Secretary of Health of the United States, I would absolutely try to inform people, public broadcasts. Hey, if you are overweight, here's what you should do. I understand that it might hurt some industries, such as the soda industry and the bread industry and a few other industries like that. But the government of the United States should be about helping the people of the United States, not about watching out for industries. We spent trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars when, in fact, we could have built industry around helping elderly people stay isolated, and as much as humanly possible. Paid a bunch of fucking people extra, to literally test themselves every day, if at all possible. Stay at facilities to take care of these elderly people. I mean, as somebody that worked in this industry, do you know how mobile and active and already pre-isolated a fucking 75-year-old with 4+ comorbidities is already? They're not fucking at the general store. They're already in nursing home. Okay, they're already fairly isolated. The nursing home should have been, fucking isolated. People should have been able to accept their own risk. I mean, the amount of damage we've caused is amazing. Another one, cooking lessons for children. There'd be a weekly cooking lesson. There'd be weekly talk about buying local. I mean, because you are in the U.S. government, you should not be for big business. You should be for buying local. You know why? Buying local, growing your own food, also is much better on consumption of gasoline, consumption of packaging, waste, those sorts of things. Like, when you shop local, it doesn't have to travel and get packaged as much. You also put money into local economies. I mean, when you buy oranges, when you live in Florida and buy oranges from California, you are pushing money outside of your fucking economy. It's crazy to me. I don't even get it. Anyway, but so back to this. Compared with 2.68 fold risk for COVID-19 mortality compared with patients of a BMI of under 30. So we're not even talking, by the way, we are not even talking not big. I mean, my BMI is something like 27, we're just talking don't be fat as fuck. I get that people have problems losing weight. Trust. I get it. Okay. More than most of you could possibly know. I get it. Right. Because I have trouble with mine. That's why we've developed things like No Morbidity. That's why we're developing product 2. That's why I take Nutrient Driver every day, which, by the way, you can get Nutrient Driver, which is, it has berberine in it. It's excellent for your fucking blood sugar regulation and all like that. It helps me avoid having sugar cravings. So I take it 3 times a day. As a matter of fact, my bottles are somewhere around here. But that's why I take Nutrient Driver. Your berberine's going to be in product 2. That's why I take a wide spectrum multivitamin a day to make sure I don't have any micronutrient holes that might cause cravings. Because I try to watch what I eat. I get it. I have problems with food, right? But that's not an excuse. That's just a problem. It's not a reason. It's something to deal with. It's what we should have to do. Yeah, this is perfect. You don't have to be ripped and fit to be healthy. You absolutely do not. And under 30 BMI is not a huge fucking expectation for population health, especially when being fat does burden society. It absolutely does. Like, my job as Secretary of Health of the United States would be to, in fact, try to minimize the impact of negative health ramifications. It wouldn't be to treat the sick. It would be to avoid the illness. Like, that's the thing. The health is about avoiding illness. Being healthy is about avoiding illness. We have sick care. We don't have health care in America. We take care of the sick. We do not try to even get people healthy or have people stay healthy. That is villainized. You know, that's it's like being healthy is almost villainized. Being fat is somehow brave, when in fact you have a 2.68-fold risk or higher mortality from a fucking cold virus. I mean, we always hear fat bodies are good bodies. No, they're not. Like, no, they're not. They're just not. Subgroup analysis showed that patients with obesity and age of over 60 years associated with significant increased risk of critical COVID. Meta regression analysis results showed that age had a significant influence in the association with BMI. So if you're fat and old, you're fucking in big fucking problems. Random effect dose response meta-analysis showed a linear association between BMI and both critical COVID and mortality. The risk of critical COVID-19 and mortality increased 9% and 6% for each 1 kilogram increase of BMI, respectively. Kilogram per meter. So, conclusion. Evidence from this meta-analysis suggests that linear dose-response association between BMI and both COVID severity and mortality. Further, obesity, BMI over 30, was associated with a significant increased risk of critical COVID and in-hospitalization mortality of COVID-19. So we knew this. Again, this is from September of 2020. And this information was gathered way before this. We did not warn these people. We did not warn anybody. We pretended that everybody was at the same risk. It's fucking tragic. It really was. This is straight from the CDC. This is March 12th of 2021. This is body mass index and risk of COVID-19 related hospital intensive care admissions and invasive mechanical ventilation, which proved to actually be fucking murder. Obesity is recognized risk factor for severe COVID-19. They don't talk about it at all. We don't talk about this shit whatsoever. Risk of hospitalization, ICU deaths were the lowest amongst patients of BMIs of 24.2, 25.9, and 23.7, respectively, and then increased sharply with higher BMIs. Risk for invasive mechanical ventilation increased over the full range of BMIs from 15 kilograms to 60. It's reality. This is another one. This is the cost of COVID-19 pandemic associated with obesity in Europe, a healthcare cost model. So, the summary, the total direct costs of secondary care during the first wave of COVID-19 in Europe were estimated at euros of 13.9 billion, whereof 76% accounted for treating people with overweight and obesity. 76% of that. The average cost per hospital admission increased with BMI from 15,831 euros for BMI of under 25 to 30,982 euros for BMI above 40. So more than double. The fuck? People. This is not how you take care of people. You help them avoid illness. Obesity and its complications for COVID-19 mortality. This is from April 1, 2020. First published April 1 of 2020. Give me a second. I gotta eat more coffee. I'm back. So this is from April 1 of 2020. Between April 2009 and January 2010, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimated that 41 to 84 million people were affected with H1N1 virus, blah, blah, blah. The disproportionate H1N1, I don't know why we're talking about H1N1 experience. So they were trying to compare the two. The prevalence of adult obesity and severe obesity in 2017 and 2018 has increased, and now 42 and 9 respectively. The observations suggest the proportion of patients with obesity and severe obesity and COVID-19 infections will increase. compared with the H1N1. So basically, they just compared it to H1N1, and apparently people have a harder time with H1N1 too when they're morbidly obese. Because guess why? You're fucking fat. You know. Non-respiratory complications of obesity in patients dying with COVID-19 in Italy. So this was from like early on. Obesity was present in 411 of 3,694 patients, 11%. Patients dying with COVID-19. Obesity was significantly associated with increased probability of experiencing acute renal failure and shock. The association of obesity with acute renal failure and shock were stronger in patients aged less than 60 than those aged 60 or older, adjusted. In conclusion, in patients dying with COVID-19 in Italy, obesity is associated with an increased probability of non-respiratory complications, particularly shock and acute renal failure. These associations seem stronger. So, I mean, I would just keep reading over and over. This is an Italian snapshot. This is obesity and COVID, an Italian snapshot. Results, a total of 92 patients were enrolled. Patients with overweight and obesity were younger than patients with normal weight. A higher need for assisted ventilation beyond pure oxygen support, and a higher admission to intense and semi-care units were observed in patients with overweight and obesity. COVID study finds about 78% of people hospitalized were overweight or obese. Obesity significantly increases chances of severe outcomes for COVID-19 patients. This is on the World Health Organization website, but when you tried to say something like this on YouTube, by the way, at this time, they deleted the video. This is just fucking pathetic and sad. And if I was the Secretary of Health of the United States in 2020, I would have tried to look out for the people of the United States as you swore to do and uphold the Constitution as you swore to do, versus looking out for business. I would have tried to warn people that were at higher risk and tried to tell people that were at lower risk that they should likely operate their lives as per normal. And if they felt ill, to stay the fuck in and avoid human contact, because guess what? That's what you fucking do when you're sick. When you have a cold, you're supposed to stay away from other people. It's been common knowledge for a goddamn long time. And if you are not sick, if you are not symptomatic, you are not normally contagious, as was the case with this also. And then this one is from 2020 also. The novel, COVID, has created a global pandemic with its syndrome. The number of people affected by COVID-19 increases worldwide. Older adults and those who are immunocompromised due to underlying medical conditions are at higher risk of developing serious complications from COVID-19. So why did we all would like, this was the thing, but yet every time you turn to the news, it's like anybody. It can be anybody. It can be young people. It can be your children. Fucking children are like, bee stings, I think, kill more kids than fucking COVID-19. I don't know that for sure. That is just me guesstimating, but let's see. A study in France was shown that the risk or need of ventilators in the patients with COVID-19 was 7-fold higher for individuals with body mass index above 35 compared to the body mass index of 25. A study in New York found which people with younger than 60 years of age with a BMI above 30 were significantly more likely to be admitted to care than individuals with BMI less than 30. Additional research from New York City demonstrated that patients with obesity had significantly higher rates of admission to intensive care units and rates of death. A study in Mexico where COVID-19 patients with obesity had higher rates of admission to intensive care units were more likely to be intubated and have 5-fold increase of mortality. So here's the thing. Here's what I want to put to you all. I understand, and I'm going to be real. This is just me being very, very serious and very, like, just as real as I can get, right? I joke about what I would do if I was the Secretary of Health of the United States and all that stuff all the time. It's not that I wouldn't take the job either. I got to be real. It's not that I wouldn't take the job, because I think I could do a better job. Because you don't need to be a rocket scientist at this point in time. You just need to have common sense and try to look out for the good of people. My delivery is harsh because the world is harsh. My delivery is very sharp and poignant. My delivery is meant to try to get people to see reality. And the reality is that obesity is destroying us. It is destroying this nation. And right now, I don't see it as the government is trying to help. Of course, because they don't. That's what that governments don't do that. We, the people, need to definitely fucking start taking care of each other. And to do that, a lot of you out there watching, maybe not the people that are watching right now, but a lot of you that are going to watch this later need to wake up to the idea that you have to take care of yourself. That at some point in time, it is going to get like times are going to get hard enough where you are going to have to look out for yourself. I just, I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. Like when you can clearly see that not one public health official discussed the information that I just discussed in the way I discussed it. When you can clearly know that over the last 2.5 years, we were made to believe and see that like everybody was at risk and we needed to do, we like at no point in time should anybody have been told what they could and couldn't do. That's not freedom to me. And I understand that for many of you out there, that you are very happy that people like me, the government tried to tell us what to do. One, I wouldn't have listened, and two, I didn't have to where I lived. Never owned a mask, never isolated, not once. You know, I wore a mask one time to see my mother. That was it. But I refused because it was very clear to me, knowing what I knew about healthcare and reading the data, that they knew, as well as I knew, that the people that did the dying normally were the people that were doing the dying: elderly people and fat people. And for some reason, the over the last 2.5 years, we have made it so fat people, like, we don't even talk about the dangers. Like, we're living in this fantasy world that they're somehow healthy. And that's very dangerous. Like, I get that, like, we try to have, like, I try to be entertaining, like, I mean, I enjoy telling jokes and I enjoy doing the things and I enjoy all that. But like at some point in time, but at some point in time, we have to fucking like get to the point where we realize that like we live, like reality exists, and all the fucking bullshit that we're arguing about when it comes to like what, all the shit that we're being made to argue about does not protect anybody. You know, eat whole foods. Like, I find it amazing. Like where we're at right now. Like if I was Secretary of Health of the United States, I would talk about 15 days to slow the spread of obesity, not 15 days to slow the spread, not 15 days to flatten the curve, 15 days to flatten your fucking stomach. 15 days. And I say this all the time: 15 days. Go 15 days without eating processed carbohydrates of any kind. 15 days. I don't give a fuck what you eat besides that. Drink an ounce of fluid per pound of your body mass. And don't eat any processed carbohydrates for 15 days. And get back to me. If you cannot do that, if you cannot do that, you should ask yourself why. I go weeks upon weeks without even eating processed food. Like, and I get free protein powder, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, I occasionally have like a protein pudding at night. Which, by the way, I'm going to point out that whey protein is fucking food. That whey protein is fucking food, and it's processed protein. It's not processed carbohydrates. But I challenge you to just eat 15 days drinking an ounce of fluid per pound of your body mass, which is what the data shows. If you're living in a warm climate or a hotter climate, or you work out, you should probably take in more than that. 15 days drinking an ounce of fluid per pound of body mass and eat nothing but whole foods, meats, eggs, vegetables, and fruit. That's it. Eat just that's what it is. 15 days. If you cannot, because it's a matter of convenience, what could you do in your life to change that? What can you do in your life to prioritize your health, right? And if you cannot, because that shit just calls to you, accept the fact that you've got a problem with that shit. It should show you that it's an actual problem. That's what I would have said to people, you know. And if I couldn't have gotten the support to not do the stupid shit and try to fucking close the economy down, because whenever you turn the economy off, people die. Like, we knew this back then. It's not like lockdowns and downturn economy doesn't have actual death connected to it. We knew this. If anything, just in increased suicides and increased overdoses and domestic violence and all sorts of shit alone. You know, what we did to try to protect ourselves from a cold is fucking ridiculous. I mean, absolutely fucking insane ridiculous. Sheeny, it depends on the honey you get. If it's honey straight from like a local farmer, I would suggest no. I'm going to point out that if the first thing you think of when I say to stay away from processed carbohydrates is how can you get something sweet, that you might have a problem with sweet stuff. I'm going to suggest that, you know, like, I mean, it's what happens. There are these perfect bars and they have honey in them. Great dessert. What? You don't need a dessert. Is it your birthday? For the 15 days, try not to even eat anything that tastes sweet besides fruit. Fruit is your sweetness. You know, like that's the thing. And I'm not knocking on you. I appreciate you, but you want salt? Yeah, I agree. But you can if you eat meats and stuff like that, you do get plenty of sodium in there. Just to be real. So, but I would encourage people to get out and walk, get some vitamin D. We knew back then. That's what Mark got shadow banned for fucking. Mark got shadow banned for fucking talking about vitamin D when we knew it was fucking healthy for people and it helped avoid cytokine storms in the lungs. So shit could have been a lot different. I would have done better than what was done. I have no doubt. And anybody that does, I'd like to debate in an open stage. Back and forth. We present our data. Because that's a huge problem right now, is that dissenting opinions are there's no longer debate. There is just stuff labeled as disinformation. I've had more shit labeled as disinformation that now is completely 100% correct. Like that, the shit that I've been spoken about is now seen as 100% correct. We just had a fucking, we just had basically 2.5 years of misstep, and nobody's calling anybody on this. 2.5 years of not telling fat people they were at risk. I have multiple videos. Like, are we not going to warn these people that they're at higher risk? By treating every single person as if they're the same risk. It gave it fucked with people bad. It gave people who were young and healthy a lot of anxiety and stress, more than what they needed, because they were not at that high of risk. They just weren't. By pretending that you could spread a virus when you didn't have symptoms, we caused a shit ton of stress on all country, the entire country. There is not really a thing for a non-immunized person of asymptomatic spread of upper respiratory viruses. There's just not. I mean, if you don't have symptoms, it has been historically known that you just don't transmit. Fauci even said so at the beginning of this. But then all of a sudden we needed to make sure everybody locked down and got terrified because it became political. So all of a sudden everybody could possibly be spreading it. Somebody could have it and you could give it to somebody else, you could give it to somebody else. We described the process of how communicable diseases have worked the entirety of our species and then pretended like it was some huge fucking surprise for a cold virus that one person gives it to another person and that person gives it to another person. This is nature. This is how shit works. I would argue that the use of masks increased viral spread because people self-infected themselves. People cause themselves to get infected at a higher rate by touching their faces more often with a dirty ass fucking rag. And I would be 100% right. And there would be much more data and logic to support that than anything else. It's just reality. And it being labeled as disinformation at one point in time is a travesty. We need to get back to we try to be healthy as people. It's not shaming to say you should try to be physically fit. We're fucking animals. You know what gluttonous animals and if you are less mobile and have a more harder time breathing doing tasks, if you don't have cardiovascular efficiency and mobility compared to the rest of your species in nature, you die. And we could get there very fucking quickly. I mean, very fucking quickly. So I don't get it. I understand that people don't want to be told that they've done anything fucking wrong because you motherfuckers have been given participation trophies your entirety of your fucking life, and that's my generation's fault, for real. My generation started giving our kids participation trophies, and you motherfuckers act like you can't be told you ain't shit. Do yourself a favor. If you're my age or if you're whatever, if your kid's young, remind them that they ain't shit a lot. Remind them that they need to work fucking hard a lot. Remind them a lot. Because this whole I'm perfect the way I am, no, you're not. Most of you motherfuckers suck. Most of you motherfuckers are weak-spirited, physically fucking sickly, fucking pathetic, kind of slobbish, fucking treating your body like shit human beings who then want to fucking throw your hand in the air whenever anybody says maybe you should fucking work on yourself. The concept of self-improvement to a lot of you is somehow super fucking foreign and upsets people extremely bad. When in fact, it's weird. The people I know that are physical, that like being physically fit, we're always working on ourselves. We always think that there's room for improvement. We always accept the fucking challenge. But a bunch of motherfuckers don't want to out in society right now don't want to be told that they're anything less than fucking perfectly desirable by everyone. There's a reason why being gluttonously big in nature is not attractive. It does not attract mates. It's because you're sickly. You get sick easier. You're more of a burden on the fucking herd. We talk about herd immunity. It just is what it is. You know, we're a species of animals. And my fucking goodness, some of you motherfuckers would not survive a goddamn day in nature. You know? I get it. You don't. It's so many people don't want to fucking be want to be told that there's something wrong with them. But I'm trying to be as realistic as I can when I say this. A lot of you motherfuckers are weak and pathetic, fat, slobbish, fucking sloppy ass people who only want to be told the good things about your life and ignore in any possible way anything negative. Data is data. You get sick more. You are more of a burden to all of us the fatter you fucking get. You will live less. These are not guesses. It is not fat phobia. These are realities. You clog our fucking healthcare system. You get sick at a higher rate. You have a harder time with fucking cold viruses. This is reality. Having so many of you be so gluttonously fat is in fact damaging our society. I'm not saying everybody should have a six-pack. Far from it. I'm not rocking a six-pack right now. I'm rocking a little bit of a six-pack right now. But I am saying that if the statistics show that you have a 2.7 increase in fucking mortality from a fucking, like, that's like fucking, people were like, it's 207, it's almost 300% increase in mortality from a cold virus. When you're fat as fuck, unfatten your fucking cells. This is not conjecture. This is not fat shaming. This is real. This is me trying to tell you I give enough of a fuck about you to tell you. For 2.5 years, people have gaslit you into thinking that you are fucking fine, that everybody is at the same risk at you. No, that's not fucking true. That's not true at all. I could get this cold and it could kill me. But you know what? A regular cold could kill me. Depending on circumstances, get bronchitis, something else happen, have a cytokine storm, have an asthma attack while I'm fucking, while I have the fucking cold, and fucking develop pneumonia and bacterial infection, sepsis, all sorts of shit. Healthy people do die of colds also, of regular ass colds. But when you are at much higher risk of fucking dying from this shit and nobody told you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that for 2.5 years, or it's really the last 5 years, but especially the last 2.5 years, people pretended that you being a gluttonous, fat, sloppy person was fine. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And if I was your Secretary of Health of the United States, I would apologize if it hurt your feelings. But fuck your feelings. It's time for everybody to get healthy. It should be viewed as an American citizen's responsibility to be healthy. We live in the freest country in the world, or we used to. That comes with certain responsibilities, one of which should be gun ownership. But that's a whole other fucking thing. Because when every citizen in the United States owns a firearm, it makes us the largest standing army in the world, and nobody will come fuck with us. That's a whole other thing. But you should be able to take care of your fucking self. We have too many people that emburden the rest of society more than they fucking put in. Too many people that burden our healthcare system way more disproportionately than other people, while consuming more resources, while making more waste. Too many fucking people. It's fucking time. There are tools to do so. Again, 15 days to slow the spread of obesity. Drink an ounce of fluid per pound of body mass and eat no processed foods at all. Only taste the taste of sweet in the evening and have it be either fruit or something with honey in it. No oats, no nothing. No oats, no nothing. Vegetables, fruits, meats. Done. Figure it out. Figure it out. You know, I watched the president last night. We are reaching a very scary time in our society. Things are so polar. We need to find a way as people to come together. We really do. But to do that, we have to be able to fucking support each other. We have to. Why no oats? Because what do you put on oats? Do you just eat oats? Do you just bake oats in water? If anything, I'd rather you do grits. But because grits are normally done savory, but people put sweet shit on oats. That's why. Stinging nettles make great salads, absolutely. Grits, yes. I love grits. Love it, love it. That's the thing. It's not that hard. People just pretend like it is. Vegetables, fruits, fruit in the evening. No sugar, no nothing. No sugar, no nothing. Good. Well, I mix oats and water and make a kind of porridge. That works. Fine. Do that, whatever. But Jesus fucking, it is amazing when I, like, it's 2 weeks. Go 2 weeks with just vegetables, just fruit, eating and animal proteins. It's just amazing. I anyway. Anyway, we're almost at our time. Anybody with any real quick questions about this? I'm sorry if this is summary. I'm probably gonna be back tomorrow. So, but again, we do have a Labor Day sale going on at TigerFitness.com. I suggest you pick up some berberine and some Immortal, and then we'll be back in stock before you know it with no morbidity. So I hope any questions, real quick, guys. Do yourselves a favor. What time? I don't know. Whenever I feel like it. On weekends, I'm just gonna go live if I feel like it. I probably will. I'm saying probably. I don't know. So, but Andrea B. Anytime anyone asks me for my food advice, I always tell them to eat as closely to the earth as possible. Need a sugar, fruit. That's beautiful. That's fucking outstanding, Andrea. It's fucking outstanding. But reality, reality. Like we need to very seriously knock off this fucking ridiculous bullshit. I don't give a fuck how much you lift. I don't give a fuck what your bench is. Don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck if you rock a six pack. I really don't. I don't. But if you're over 30 BMI, you're putting yourself at higher risk. I just gave you the data. And I'm not saying like you should have to do anything. You're a free fucking person. I'm just saying society shouldn't subsidize you. I'm saying that you should, like, if you are going to eat yourself an illness, you should have to pay for that illness instead of all society paying for that illness. Sucks, I know, right? It's fucking, reality is a fucking nasty ass fucking thing. Should we try to take care of people? Absolutely, especially elderly people and kids. But we didn't do that either. By pretending that everybody was at the same risk. You know how many elderly people I saw in line? Like, they were standing 6 feet away. 6 feet was a completely made up, ridiculous number. Aerosolized vapor that carries viruses on it travels 30 fucking meters. You dumb fucks. We've known this. It's fucking. We need very much. We have a world to save. We need to unfatten America. We need to be, in order for us to become a strong nation, we need to become strong people. And right now, we're just weak, sloppy, and fat. It's fucking pathetic. I hope all of you. I hate to leave it on that. I hate to leave the week on that, but I really fucking hope that everybody can fucking. If you're in good shape, which I hope you are, or you're getting there, fucking keep killing it, motherfuckers. You are fucking heroes. You are heroes. Heroes. You really are. If you have fat people in your life or people that drink too much, smoke too much, glutton themselves, reach out to them and try to tell them that they are putting themselves at serious risk. Like, it's fucking important. Okay? That's caring about them. It absolutely is. If they say, well, you're fat phobic, like, have them enter reality, because they're not healthy. You know it. And they're at higher risk for all sorts of shit. And they're harder on our society. They're a burden. They really are. So I hope everybody has a great day. I'm going to move on from this and have a very, very, very good day. I hope to talk to all you motherfuckers soon. Like I said, I'll probably be live tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I probably will be. Goddamn.